Mashenki having a Suda together. The Suda and the Chasana, which is a time of Simcha and dancing and everything. So it's hard to see exactly what's going on over here. But a Moshe had this Shita that he says a suffix and he's more noited that it you don't need. It could be there are later Shulas that held differently, but this is what Moshe wrote in his first Chelak Igros Moshe. L'maisa, the Rebbe addressed this issue with from another standpoint. There is one of the big Mefarshim on Shulchan Aruch, the Noisei Klei Shulchan Aruch, and Ibn Ezer is the Beis Shmuel. The Beis Shmuel brings down from the Bach. And the Bach says that when there's a special bracha you make by Sheva brachas by a wedding when you bench, you say Baruch Elokeinu she'asimcha b'ma'oinei. That the simcha is in his dwelling. Meaning referring to the Hashem. Hashem, or the simcha is b'ma'oinei. Who has simcha, gebench is Hashem. So says the Bach. Kashanashim, Kosav Abach, Kashanashim and Nashim B'Cheder brings the Beis Shmuel. When the men and women are together in one room, Ein Oimim Shasimcha B'Oinei. You cannot say the bracha Shasimcha B'Oinei. Ein Simcha She'Yetzahara Shayel. There's no Simcha when there's Yetzahara.
How do you bring the kala to the men's section for ceremonies? Like her mother with her sister with whoever. How do you bring God? There's no Mechitza, no nothing. The opposite. To make sure that they hear the bracha.
No, they're not supposed to come during. Good question, but they're not supposed to come. But before they're supposed to come at the ending of benching. When you're saying the Sheva brachas, but during benching when you say
way before.
No, they're supposed to come after benching. They're supposed to call them.
Only for Sheva brachas.
Right?
Then also you're making a bracha, like you say here.
No, but you're not saying simcha. The special bracha shas simcha ba'oinoi.
That's at the beginning.
At the beginning of benching. We say. Rishos, Baruch Elokeinu she'asimcha b'ma'oinei shechanu mishaloi. That says the Bach means Veshul. You cannot say it unless you have, unless they're separate, not when they're in the same room.
Isn't that actually? Is that a Gemara? I think does the Gemara say that? But things
I don't think so.
No.
This thing should.
Really? Wow. Okay.
No, Ein Simcha She'Yetzahara Shoylet could be it's like a Chazal.
Oh, that could be Gemara.
But the fact that we don't say the bracha simple
That's the Bach.
The Bach and the Beis Shmuel brings.
Okay.
Now, before we go to the rest of this, let's turn to the third page. The third page. We're going to take a look at a letter over here of the Rebbe. To a family that did not want to have a Mechitza during the Chasna of their daughter. We're going to read through it quickly. It's, the Rebbe is not only discussing the actual halacha, he's making convincing arguments to persuade them to do it. But it's an interesting letter, and we'll see some other letters. And then we'll go back to the earlier pages. We'll discuss mixed shiurim, having mixed shiurim. So on top of the page it says Reish Chav Beis. It's the third paper in the booklet. B'kesher l'shmuis hashonis megiyus alai. Regards to the rumors which are coming to me, they surprise me greatly. Here, the new third page here, the new paper. I'm very busy. I'm writing to you the few lines. According to what I hear, I hope it's not true, says the Rebbe, but your family is against having a Mechitza, which is Shulchan Aruch demands. I want to explain to you how I view the situation. When you make with a Mechitza, like the Torah demands, the Torah says, you're allowed to say Shasim P'Moinei. When you mention Hashem's name, you mention it should be with a simcha. You are drawing down a hashpah of simcha during the chasana, especially with the chasana
Question, first of all, it says here,
That thing was Rishat Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah.
Okay, now where is that stated in the
He
Shulchan
didn't
Aruch?
explain it. He didn't explain it. Vadei, I mean, he explained a little bit that you can only say Simcha Ba'oineh when you have a Mechitza. He didn't show the source yet. But that's what we had before in the Beis Shmuel.
That's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
No,
It doesn't say clearly that you should have a Mechitza. It says you can't say Hasimcha B'Ma'oineh when man and woman are on the same room.
that's not really in the Shulchan Aruch. That's one of these men on the side.
A lot of the men on the side are great men.
Okay, but that's not this. It's not the Shulchan Aruch.
Well, but we follow the
It
halacha.
might
of
be
the-
incorporated in the side of the actual text of the Shulchan.
Okay, but
No, Shulchan Aruch, when we say term Shulchan Aruch, we don't mean it specifically the Mechaber Amah. Let's say the Shach or the Taz add something or say something, it's also binding.
Yeah, but when you go all these men on the side, they very often disagree with each other. So
Over
it's
here,
not
there's
so
no one
clear.
disagrees.
Over here, they're not disagreeing.
There's no disagreement. We'll see, there is a sheet that disagrees. Post Shulchan Aruch, the sheet that disagrees. Now, Vadei miyusav l'tayis amarachzachish v'shar ma'achroin is ba'olam b'chal v'amis amafrat. The Shah don't have to explain to you what's going on in the world in general and in Klal Yisrael especially.
What's the day? I mean, that makes a difference. When you're saying what's going on.
Not sure, but it's probably the 50s.
Really?
Not sure. To look it up, the original.
Okay, it's not so.
It's I'm not taking it from the original source.
Yeah.
In Bechol Azman Hechel Zakel Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Bracha Atzlacha Yisrael L'Chaim B'Dim B'Smeichim. If in all times one needed the bracha of Hashem to have a healthy and happy life, Bereinu Adavar Chreich become in our generation, it's mamish required much more. V'Yachad HaMasug HaTiach Zeis Hu Zeshu Adin Shekol Eilam HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only the Rebbeinu Shalom can ensure that we can have a happy and healthy life. B'Zmanei Shal Arav HaChassid Shal Dait B'Ni Shidduch Zeh. When a certain person, a chassid, asked me regarding the shidduch, Shigi Elai Shalas Midim, when you asked me regarding the shidduch, Matzach L'choy V'Sulatiach Shabitcha Ma'chasan Schils Gayam Ashtafim Yiv Zarev Shitzapis L'Meida Hamalaya Mida Malaya B'Yoyis Shaparach L'Kadosh Baruch Shi'ilam Bayis Bari Sameach.
So that was referring to that they also asked him.
They asked him for a bracha, and I felt what I looked forward to was that you're going to live a life based on the brachas of Hashem. It's a shidduch which is coming with a skama to say Kedosha. Because you're going to have a chassan which you can be able to say a simcha b'oinei.
It's very shocked. It's very shocked that he's saying I can be.
No one could change it if Hashem, if this is the way the Torah says it. And parents that want to do everything good for their children, that their children should be glicklich. It seems like the chas and the kala wanted the mechitza, but it was the parents that it was embarrassed. Those days it was like stigma. You're going to be the ones to have a mechitza.
So maybe these boy and girl were really chassidim.
Yeah, no, they were, and even the parents
days
probably
that-
were also.
yeah,
but those
no.
days in the 50s,
There's really no Mechitza. It's hard to believe.
they were chassan. They're not mechitzas. No.
No, it's not hard to believe. Nobody had it. It came later. It started later.
This is was because the
So what
Rebbe and
they
other
had- they
Gedolei
had music?
Yisrael
Wow.
were pushing for
They
it.
were separate, but there was no Mechitza, or they weren't separate.
They, well,
I don't think they were separate.
They weren't separate.
They weren't
separate. Maybe by the Yakis it was separate.
So how could you dance? How could you have music?
Well, that's that. They
danced
had
separate.
it. That's how they had it.
In America, things took time till things were brought up to the Madrega. But so the Gedolei Yisrael worked on it. Everyone worked with their kehillah. This is a letter that Rebbe was working with, Amerikanische Chassidim to bring out in them that this is, the younger generation was ready for, but the older generation wasn't yet ready. So, L'maisa, the next paragraph, and they live in bayis as a shonim, people that are marrying to build a house for tens of years. The parents don't want to ensure that your children, this is so important for the rest of their life, this is how you want to set it up. Just for a few hours of the wedding, Just because you want to find favor in the eyes of people who don't know Shulchan Aruch or don't care about Shulchan Aruch. Just because you want to have a passing pleasure of having a few hours of mixed wedding, you're going to give up all the brachas of Hashem. To me, I wonder, where did the parents get white shoulders, broad shoulders, lost of chayes, because we take on such an achrayis. Now we hear in the bottom. And the ending of this letter, the bottom is a note 1. Let's take a look at the bottom, note 1.
Aaron, we found it.
Number 1. The Bach and the Beis Shmuel, which is brought in the Shulchan Aruch Even Ezer. However, Masha Kosev Lavush. The Lavush writes that in his times, they were not being makbid to have chasanas that were with the Mechitza. The Dami Kikaki Chivri. He says they're like, it's like white swans, meaning he said it's not something Ma'oyer Taiva in his days. This is the Lashon, Lashon.
I think it's from the Gemara that
Lashon, yeah.
Rabbi Yochanan said it once or something.
The Lavush writes like this. Lavush is a Talmud Ramah. Ein is Haram Bazachshav. I don't see that people are careful today about having a separate wedding. But Etzim the Lavush understands you have to have it. But possibly the reason why people are not noyig anymore to have it, because women, unfortunately, women are so much accustomed to be around the men in that time. There's already not such a hir avera. Not people not having shihira because they're always used to having women, so they're having the chasana together with women. The damin like because they're so accustomed to the women amongst the men, they already don't. It's not a saying in a taiva and hergish. But even the dashu, since they're doing it already, we can't stop them. So the Rebbe brings down this lavush. He says, yeah, Eina Chanami, the lavush says this. However, so with our great Avedis, he doesn't see that it's Kikaki Chivri, it's white swans, Lamaisa, there is an Ingan of a Huri Aveira. People are, it's not exactly all tzaddikim, and so the Rebbe is very much not for this Ingan. The very bottom of this page, on top of the numbers, top of number 1, top of number 1, someone wrote to someone, and he wrote it to the Rebbe, that it came up with a lump. He said, you know what, in Echanami it says, Poskim said he shouldn't say Shasimcha B'oine. You can't say the special bracha when the men and women are together. However, that doesn't mean it's a chiyuv, an obligation to have a mechitza. You can't say the bracha. Okay, I won't say the bracha, so it's not a chiyuv. V'sulay midi, the next page. Someone wrote to someone and he sent it into the Rebbe that it's just a chsidish thing. You want to have a midas chsidis, but you can't force anyone. They won't say the bracha, but it doesn't say halacha that you have to have a mechitza.
And even saying the bracha, you can't force something on people just because it's Shmuel and Will said it, because where did they get that from?
These are a paiskim.
Well, look, listen, when you talk to me, you got to understand, I do not debate personalities, I debate issues. So my issue is, where did they get this from? And just invoking authoritarianism and saying these are our poskim, I don't accept that.
No. If Chazal tell us that there's no simcha when the Yetzer Hara is shoylet, so that you can't say this bracha.
Okay, so it depends when the Yetzer Hara is shoylet or not. So
first of all, you can't on your own decide the Yetzer Hara is shoylet. You have to go with Chazal. Second of all, we see the Yetzer Hara is shoylet, right? It's not pshat the Yetzer Hara is not shoylet.
Even at weddings, so at this, even among Charedim, when they have the Sudah, it is separated with Mechitzot. But when they have the Chuppah, they just have the men on one side, the women on the other side, and there's an aisle down the middle, and there's no Mechitzah.
Correct. L'maisa, there's no bracha shasimcha ma'oinei by the chuppah.
Oh, that's the
So
end.
when is later on by the suda. And ichanami by the chuppah we're taking mekla. We're taking mekla. Yeah.
And when you have Sheba Brachot in the house, so what like you see...
L'maisa, according to the Rebbe Shita in the house, you have to be makbid.
Right. According to this.
According to this, you have to be makbid. A lot of people are not makbid. So they're going to be relying on the lavush.
No, but
L'maisa, the Rebbe doesn't
I've
want.
seen that the women are in the kitchen and the men on the dining.
Wait a minute.
Maybe you could say the Sheva brachas, which are maybe a more closer fear of just a few family members.
Usually it's a family.
If it's just family, then you could say it's family maybe, but
Family,
reality is really
family and friends.
a mechitza should be there.
Okay,
Should be there.
family and friends, because
Panam Chadashis.
Madam Chadashis.
no, like
It's not always feasible. It depends on the
Okay,
situation.
so you have to do your best.
no,
The bracha
What
itself
I've seen
cannot be
that
said. The
Shem
bracha
says
itself,
There's no room for men and women around the table.
the bracha itself,
Women in the kitchen.
If you have a large enough
even
kitchen.
if you say,
That doesn't
even
always
for argument's sake, you would say you can't say the bracha. But the mere fact is that you agree that when men and women are together in the same room, it's a hara. So how can you have the Sheva Brachot in the house with men and women at the same table, not even necessarily on different sides of the table, which I've seen happening even in Hasidic families.
It's wrong.
Not the other Hasidim, but
The Rebbe would talk to disagree with that.
even among Chabad Hasidim.
If you would ask the Rebbe, he would say no.
it can't answer for every individual person. Obviously, not everyone's aware and not everyone's on the same level. Ultimately, there's no question about it, should be separate, and ultimately it should be with the mechitza.
So if you would have a Sheva Brachot in your house, you would put the women in a different
Put them
room.
in a different room, yeah.
They always have, because there's not enough room for the men and the women. It's like the children, not enough room to cheer to sit at the table, and it's taking up space.
Okay, so let's say just for Shabbatot, when you have the Satan Rachim and Shabbatot, so
L'mais is azoi. I'm not saying there's not other Gedolei Yisrael disagree.
Don't say
I'm just
simcha
telling you this is the
b'mayne.
Rebbe Shita.
There's no symptom of money in Shabbos.
Now, over here the Rebbe says, we have the Yetzirah Shoylet, it's not pshat that you could say it's mutter to have the Yetzirah Shoylet. It's not pshat, it's a reshus. I don't want to say something like pshat is, Yetzirah Shoylet means HaKadosh Baruch Hu ain't Shoylet, the Yetzirah Shoylet. There's no heter to bring that the Yetzirah should be Shoylet. There's no heter to bring such a matzah. It's taka interesting that the Rebbe himself did not invoke the Gemara in Sukkah. Because the Gemara in Sukkah that we spoke last week talks about the Beis HaMikdash. So that you can say that it's a Mikdash, in terms of times of davening, it's in the honor of Kedusha. So therefore, lav dafka, you can compare it to the situations of a chassid. So therefore, the Rebbe is, I think, going with the Kabbalah Shasimcha Ba'oineh. He's not mentioning the Gemara at all. In none of the letters does he mention the Gemara. Ramosha deals with the Gemara, and Ramosha feels that the Gemara's lav dafka right did rishus. Even though the hesped is not really mamash a mitzvah, the hesped that happened. You could maybe even say you have a raya from the Gemara that the hesped was separate, the eulogy was separate. Ramosha wants to bring a raya maybe that the Chaburis Pesach were separate, were together. There, yeah, you could say maybe it was behechrich. It's a bit klar. So the Rebbe rather go with the Simcha Ma'oinei, which for the Rebbe that's a klarazak. You want to, from there you see that there's a Yitzhak Shoylet. So that you shouldn't have them together.
In other words, you would say that you could say it's a Kal V'chaimer. If in the Beis HaMikdash you have this problem, so certainly by a chasana it's joking around and music and all of that. You want to say like a Kal V'chaimer?
Like a Simcha Sheva, like a Simcha Sheva.
Like a Kal V'chaimer?
In the Beis HaMikdash be'etzem they weren't even davening then. It was a Shas Simcha Sheva. You might say that it's mamash the Gemara compared to the Gemara. But some reason the Rebbe is not mentioning the Gemara, maybe because the Gemara could be maybe moved around. Maybe there could be disagreement with the Gemara. And the Rebbe felt more clear. I want to go back to Shiurim. Having separate seating or mechitzas by Shiurim. Having men and women coming together for a shir. There is the bottom of the first page.
Last week there was a shir upstairs, and if the men would have been able to, then the men would have had a shir. They didn't have a shir.
The Shulchan Aruch of the Alter Rebbe, this is Siman Shin Tezvav Menachos Shabbos. the Alter Rebbe is discussing when the Isser of making an oil on Shabbos. You're not allowed to build on Shabbos. You're not allowed to build. One of the Lamtas Malach is not to make a binyan, boina. There's also an Isser making an oil. With the Rabbanan, you're not allowed to make an oil, a roof. An umbrella could possibly go into the category of an oil. However, Mechitza one is allowed to make on Shabbos. One's allowed to take a Mechitza and separate a room. Right, we one time learned these dinners. So the Maise, not the Mechitza. Over there, let's look at the first line. Calls the Ba'il Shugag, it's awesome when you make a roof. Have a multi-las in Mechitzas Ari, one can make a temporary Mechitza, l'chatchila b'Shabbos. If you want to protect yourself from the sun. The sun is shining through the window. Or you're outside, you want to put up a barrier. The first page, the bottom of the page. Back to the first page. Or minatzina, to protect you from the wind or the cold. Einik oil b'shul kach, putting up a mechit does not have the status of an oil. So too, one puts up a mechitza that you shouldn't blow out, the candle shouldn't be blown out. The air conditioner or the wind shouldn't blow the candles. It's not an issue on Shabbos. For sure, one is allowed to make a mechitza for tznius purposes. Let's say you want to sit in a private area, you just want to be private. So you put up a mechitza. Or for example, mechitza she'oisim b'shas hadrasha. The mechitza which is set up during the drasha of the Rav. The Rav is giving a drasha. You're allowed to put up this mechitza. So he doesn't talk about, not talking about the dinim of putting up a mechitza, but he mentions derech agav an example that the mechitza, they had a mechitza b'shas hadrasha. This source of the Alter Rebbe is not the Alter Rebbe himself. It comes from Shulchan Aruch, and it precedes in one of the Rishonim in the Mardchai, who already mentions that there was a mechitza during the by drashas.
I was actually in a shul where they removed the mechitza.
It could be it's a mini. It could.
They removed the mechitza.
Yeah, they removed the mechitza.
Like I said, Torah, but Chassidish shuls they also moved.
No, I saw. I was actually in a shul where they removed the mechitza for the debar and then put it back.
It could be l'maisa zoi. It's not clear if you're going to say this is halacha or it's a minik, but it's for sure mentioned in halacha, and already from the Rishonim, it's mentioned clearly that there was a mechitza during the drasha. That's what it was. Now, there was shluchim that were going to Russia, to the former Soviet Union, and they were going to hold different shiurim there. It was very difficult to get people together, and it was illegal, and they would have to do it very secretly. And so they asked Rishus from the Rebbe, maybe we could have men and women together and make shiurim. So the Rebbe wrote a letter being mattered based on certain on the circumstances. Let's take a look. The next page. Now the second page of the booklet. The top of the page. Based on the schwierigkeit and the difficulty in that country, the Rebbe never wanted to refer to Russia. So he called it, and the Rebbe never referred to the Soviet Union or Russia. Because he was, I think it was also more of because of the KGB, different things the Rebbe didn't want. The Rebbe always referred to Russia when he spoke to the Chassidim was Medina, that country. That country, Yena Medina. The Rebbe had to deal with, the Rebbe was dealing with constantly every 2 weeks. Chabad Shluchim would be going to Russia to do different works. They would bring with them tefillin, mezuzahs, and svarim. They would hide it. They would say they need tefillin. If they would come, a husband and wife would go together. The wife would say that she needs a pair of tefillin, he needs a pair of tefillin. They both wear Rabbeinu Tams. They need Shimush Rabbah, Ravid. They bring a lot of extra pairs of tefillin, mezuzahs, and sometimes they would be confiscated. Some of it would not be confiscated, and they're bringing to leave their tefillin. There's a whole Shiloh Posky, and what happens? You come over there to the city and people say, I don't have tefillin. Leave me your tefillin. But he's going to go back, he's going to miss a day or two tefillin on the way back. Should he leave his tefillin for the Yidden there? A lot of people are going to benefit from it. But he's going to go without space tefillin. Do we say, we tell someone doing Aveira in order that your friends should have a sport, should have a mitzvah? There was a lot of shilas that went on.
Was there any sock that you could
Yeah.
be interested
Yeah.
to hear? Yeah.
Some of the tiny that you could, because the klal that you're not allowed to do an Aveira in order for someone else to do a mitzvah, Toysa says that a mitzvah derab mishayni, a mitzvah where many people do a mitzvah is different. The shayla is, what does it mean a mitzvah derab? Is a mitzvah meant to do birabim like a minyan or something? Or even many people doing a mitzvah, many people could use the same tefillin. There's discussions about it.
It's not an avera, not for not tefillin. It's not a mitzvah.
No, it's an Aveira.
It's missing a mitzvah. It's not putting on tefillin.
It's an Aveira. To not.
I am noited to be makel, allow the women to come together. In order that it should be recognized that this heter is only given for very special circumstances, so they have two conditions. Aleph, you should only teach in Yonim, which are women are also chayivin.
You're talking about Tarubis, you're not talking about sitting separate.
1 second. You're allowed to learn Yisoidis of Amunah for women. Abbas Hashem, Yiris Hashem. Beis, the second thing, Yishasada Yeshiva Nefred Nashim Gvarim. Should be totally separate seating. This will make sure that there won't be mixed dancing or anything else for these types of gatherings that they're going to hold. Lamrois, this is all, even though you're dealing with people that aren't from yet, people that are not from, so they themselves in their private lives, they're not keeping any tznius. So why should we be so makbid? Lamrois shemeduber b'keil shebegal rekesh and based on their background. But the Sivas Acheres Einem Snagdom the Kudim B'Chayi Chevim Rav. They don't mind dancing and mixing. You shouldn't, for sure, you shouldn't allow it in these groups. You shouldn't give any formal heter. When you are formally arranging it, a Rav comes, a rabbi or a shlichim are coming giving a formal shir, you're firstly making up the status. What's considered a shul? What's considered Yiddishkeit? What's a shir? They in their private lives are not makbid, but you are setting up a standard. You have to set it up the way it's supposed to be. But I want to mention again the last paragraph. You should only do it in that country. Because there's no other way to save them from intermarriage. Other countries should not rely on what I'm writing as a heter. Any country don't have those conditions. Even in Russia, if the situation will get better, you shouldn't rely on these conditions. Some want to tie in America, even though they're not in Russia. But you also have a situation, you have people that are not at all ready to come to a shir. If you have a situation, you're somewhere all in America, in a Givisa place, you're in Texas, you're in New Mexico, you're in Nevada. No, they're not going to walk in if you don't let them come husband and wife or something like that. So maybe you would have the same heter as the heter of Russia, in that country. But Lamaisa, the Rebbe is still makbid that it should be separate seating. You want separate seating and only teaching topics which women are chayiv into, because other in Yanim, you're not going to teach Gemara to women. So in Yanim, which they can both benefit from, but only separate seating.
You want separate and...
Because Lamaisa, we see, the Rebbe didn't bring over here, but Lamaisa, you see from Shulchan Aruch, that there was always a drasha between the men and the women. So maybe there's certain shuls where you find that they were makel and they lifted up the Mechitza. Maybe you're dealing with a shul, people are going to stop coming to shul, and they're going to say they're going to go join the Kitzur temple. So you have to know, the Rav has to make a decision based on the situation, a qualified posek has to be discussed with. The rabbi in the shul has to realize, are they going to stop coming to shul? They're going to go join the conservative. They're going to stay home. You have to know. Maybe you have a
It's all from people.
It's all from people and everything. We shouldn't be we shouldn't be doing things the way it was done always.
There's a mechitza there. They just lift up the curtain from the top of the mechitza to a small curtain on top. So it's still like we were learning last week.
So you have it a Moshe's Mechitza.
Oh, you're saying that's not considered?
So maybe you have it a Moshe's Mechitza.
You're saying that's not considered? You have a question about that? As far as what we learned now?
Listen, let's be honest. No regular Chassidish shul would open up the Mechitza.
Why? It's not
Modern shuls would open the Mechitzas.
No,
But
it's
the
not
question
that.
is,
You're not davening. It's a lecture. What's the
it's a
problem?
shir. Shir Shulchan Aruch says, Mechitza she'oisim b'thas and drasha.
What?
Is it because of Torah? L'chora because of Torah. L'chora because it's Torah.
What was it? You said shir.
I could tell you there was
It's
an
a shir.
occasion.
It's a shir. It's a
There was
drasha.
occasionally Crown Heights where there were men and women sitting, on the different sides, like a wedding, different sides, for a shir, the Motzei Shabbos shir, and by a reputable person, a Hasidic guy, and some of the people in the shir in Crown Heights consulted Rav. And the Rav advised them, I'm pretty sure this is what happened, that they need to have a mechitza.
So that's what we're talking about here.
That's where I'm saying
Right,
it.
very good.
That's what I'm saying. So
why by Simchas
So
Torah
the-
open up the mechitza?
the lecturer, who is a Hasidic guy, well-known guy, said, no, I don't want to have a mechitza for my presentation, whatever it was. I left. And most of the people from Crown Heights left. And then those who stayed, he gave a presentation. I'm just telling you, that was actually something.
We do find by Simchas Torah, it's a good point,
Why
that
was Simchas Torah? In most Hasidic places, they lift up the curtain. Why is it? They probably have a reason for it.
no, the women want to see, basically. The women want to feel a little simcha.
They want to feel like
They want to
they're
feel
part
like
of
they're
it.
part of it. It's Simchas Torah. If you black them out, it's not like they're davening. And you have men and women davening. The women are davening. The men are davening. They feel Simchas Torah. They're only coming. They're watching the men. They want to kiss the Sefer Torah. They want.
Yeah,
But Lamaisa doesn't give a heter to totally remove the mechitza. It should be
at Chabad,
episvods. You're more
apart.
makel, but you have to be careful
That's
still.
what they do.
The Rav always has to make sure to see the things should stay in place. It shouldn't be pritzos and it should be tzliastik.
Where do you
It says Klal Yisrael, when they heard the dinim of Aroyis in the Midbar, Bachol Iskim Mishpachis, they were crying because it was hard for them to keep to all the Yisurim of Aroyis, all the relationships that the Torah didn't want.
That was hard.
Coming from the background where you're making something into a new nation. Klal Yisrael, a new nation. That's not what they were used to. So Lamai says they were bachol iski mishpachis. Chazal tell us it was difficult to makabel themselves. These are things that the Yetzer Hara shoyl. These are difficult things. We all have to judge. Where is this coming from? The Tnuah. We have to make sure standards are kept.
By the shir, there's no Yetzer Hara. By the shir, there's no Yetzer Hara because you're looking at the lecture. You're not going to look at the women.
The question is also about what things lead to. There's another letter of the Rebbe where the Rebbe says any shul that took down the Mechitza, it wasn't only about the Mechitza. Because very soon the microphone came and everything else came in. You have to always know, sometimes, even if something's a minig, if someone has a rav, a certain heter, a certain situation, a person could give a certain heter for certain situations, based on the different kololim of the Torah. However, if the rav sees that heter is going to lead to people are going to take this heter and they're going to abuse it, you have to be careful with it. You want to give a heter privately to a private person, Shas Chak.
So this Jacobs is a genius. He knows all the halachas. What is he?
Not above halacha. Whoever it is, I don't know who it is, but whoever it is, not above halacha.
Where is he getting this from? You don't have the answer to that?
I don't have the answer. It doesn't fit with the Rebbe's shit.
Tell me,
Maybe it's another Rav.
Where do you draw the line?
Maybe it's not a Chabad community. I don't know.
Not a Chabad shul. No,
Where
the
do you
person
draw the
responsive
line
is not a
on all
Chabad
this?
guy. He's laser shine, not a Chabad guy.
Where,
You have to have a poisik. I don't think he's a poisik.
where do you draw the line on all
He's
this?
not a
For
poisik.
instance,
Jacobson's not a poisik.
in Meir Sharim, I don't know if they succeeded, but they once tried in Meir Sharim to make a tikkun gadol, they call it. You know, in Shul they hang up these posters all the time. They wanted to make a tikkun gadol that the stores in Meir Sharim should have separate hours for men and women.
Listen, you have to understand like this. There is what it says in Svarim, and then there is what every Rav in his Kehillah has the right to set up his Kehillah with certain standards. Every community has its standards, the way they want to raise up people that are in that Kehillah and join that Kehillah, how they want to set up their Kehillah. That's up to that Kehillah. You know, the Rebbe has a very interesting letter. In Lubavitch, the women drive. In a lot of Chassidish Kehillahs, women don't drive. Right? Certain places you're not allowed to drive. The Rebbe wrote a letter, someone wrote to the Rebbe a letter that they had an accident in their family, a car accident. And the person wanted to know why this happened to them. Why did they have a car accident? The Rebbe wrote back a fascinating letter. The Rebbe wrote, because the car is registered under your wife's name, and you live in an area where the minig is that women don't drive, so because you were put together, you broke the standards of the community that you live, that was probably why this happened.
Which city was this in?
It doesn't say. It's a clear letter printed in the Igis of the Rebbe, Igis Kodesh. I told this letter to someone, he said, it's for sure not for the Lubavitch Rebbe. So that's a clear letter.
It's printed, but the Rebbe was more with these.
And the Rebbe wrote in there
That was
further
more
that
than-
sometimes when you break the status of a community, the Menhagim and the Kehillah can have a status of becoming Min HaTorah. It's a status that community accepted upon themselves. Their Gedarim, their status. So Eina Chanami, the Lubavitch status was not that way. When people asked the Rebbe about Eretz Yisrael, even Chabad women, the Rebbe said the minig is in Eretz Yisrael that women Yirei Shemayim do not drive.
That's only that.
So the
probably talking about
Rebbe
Eretz
told even Chabad women not to drive in Eretz Yisrael.
Probably talking, the letter was probably referring to that.
It's not the minute of
I don't know if it was referring to the there, but maybe. I don't know what the Rebbe was referring to. But it's a letter of the Rebbe.
It's not referring to New Square. Probably not.
If someone comes to a place where that's the standards that the Rabbanim set up, that the Kehillah accepted upon themselves, and you're coming and telling everyone, no, you don't have, I'm going to do what I want, that's a big deal. You want to do what you want in your Kehillah differently, your Kehillah.
If everyone's Makabal Shabbos, you have to.
Right? Like that's a good example. The Makabal themselves, a certain you know, it can have a din of neder. A minig can have a din of neder. Sometimes something can only be accepted as a minig, but that's the Kehillah accepted upon themselves. Sort of like a neder that we accept themselves to certain standards. Anyone who joins a certain Kehillah accepted upon themselves standards shouldn't come to those Shul in that Kehillah and do separately. Your Kehillah, your Kehillah. You know what I mean? So, Baruch Hashem, we have a very kosher Mechitza here in this Shul. I think we could have.